fire of the Mother Soul, you are called upon. The Mother Soul.
All right, I'm back with another one, and this time it's a little bit wild. And I will start out by saying, first and foremost, this is probably not surviving the next patch. This has already been nerfed kinda 2 times, so I don't know if this will be a thing in the future, but I thought I would make a little bit of a guide and talk a little bit about the build, since I've been playing it lately and it's fucking insane. I was kind of just like looking around on Maxroll randomly, and I found this build right here that basically has nothing on it, right? Like it's 2 weapons, 2 rings, an amulet, and a pair of boots, and then of course a absolutely this unique jewel that costs like 80 divine. So I don't use this unique jewel, but this would definitely make the build even better. But so I found that build. I thought, let me just try it out, see what it feels like, and then I continued building on it on my own. And we got it to a state now where I'm really happy with how it performs. It's still not perfect, and I still think that the jewel would give me absolutely a gaudy amount of damage if I were to buy that. We did drop kind of a decent item while actually recording some gameplay for this specific build. I got the best version of this one, as you'll see at the end of the video. I'll leave a little bit of some gameplay in there, but yeah, we basically got this one, which is the best version you can get, and it's worth right around 60 divines. So I'm actually able to buy the jewel now if I wanted to. I just don't want to spend 80 plus divine on a jewel for this build when it's already doing as well as it is. You can do maps with it with this setup. That's definitely possible. It's just not super fast. It's fairly slow movement wise, but clear speed wise, like killing a monster, is super fast. It's just ridiculously fast. And this is actually one of the characters that I have which doesn't have any microtransactions on or anything. Well, technically we have the bird on, right? But it doesn't really have any microtransactions on, but it looks phenomenal. Just the way it looks is insane. But yeah, let's go over some gear first and foremost, now that we had kind of the disclaimers out of the way. The whole build is basically the most important parts of the build is the boots, and the amulet, and then we want to have insane caster rings, right? Like rings with just really good cast speed, and that's basically it, right? Then of course you want to have a weapon that has a decent amount of extra damage as cold and extra damage as lightning, and as close to 100% crit chance as you can. That is like the must-haves. Cast speed is basically just an extra plus. Mana is an extra plus, and if you could have had plus to skills here instead of the gain life, that would have been absolutely number one. And then on the other hand, we have a scepter, which has malice, and then some spirit, which is basically the main reason we want it. Here there is definitely room for improvement on my part. I would love to get a scepter that has more spirit, and then mana, and then strength and intelligence. That would just be more useful for me. Strength would be more life. As you see, we are kind of low on life, and in general, this is a very glassy build, I will say. You are gonna die from time to time just to random shit, because it does not take damage well. So we're kind of relying on being able to kill and clear everything before we even have to deal with any mechanics or anything like that. That's kind of the idea. Then the boots would be kind of nice if you corrupt them, right? And then the preferred outcome from corrupting them would be getting more overkill damage, right? So having more overkill damage just means you're getting more damage in the end. That would be number one, but even a 2 socket would be nice, so you could put a little bit extra life in there. For the amulet, it's the Chore of Storms, and this is basically, we got 20 instant leech on here, allocated from our delirious, what are they called again? Emotions, I believe, distilled emotions. And then we are using this skill called Greater Lightning Bolt, which we have right here. So this is one of our main damage dealers. And then we are using Cast on Crit. And since we want to get to as close to 100% critical as we can, and I'll show you right now, if we go to Spark, which is my main attack, you'll see I'm at 100% critical chance. So basically every single time I hit an enemy with my Spark, I crit them. And I use this pair of gloves at the moment just because it fits the build exceptionally well. This is not, like, I would say there is room to change these gloves in the future if I get better jewels, right? That's basically how I would be able to change it. Or if I get more levels, I would also be able to change out these gloves to something different. Now, of course, having this belt is okay, but having the utility belt, the super expensive belt, would of course be better. I'm just not including it in this build because I don't own that belt myself, and I don't want to spend however, like 80 divines or 70 divines or whatever it is. Then I'm using this armor because the number one reason is because of the all resistance, and then having extra life just gives us more survivability. And this could also be corrupted and then have either a higher percentage life and more all resistance, or having 5 sockets. Either or would work really, really well. I don't know if I would prefer one or the other, but I actually think I would probably prefer the extra socket, to be honest. And then we have our helmet, which is currently an ES helmet, and I could definitely also do with a way better one here, since we aren't really using energy shield that much. It's just not. It's a little bit extra hit, maximum effective hit pool, right? It's not something that's best in slot, I would say. I would probably go with a split base here. Probably go with an armor evasion, armor ES base instead of this. But this was the best thing I could find in my stash for right now, and it fit the build pretty good, and it gave me the resistances that I kind of needed. But as I said, if we could get this 5 sockets, that would mean I could get less resistance on my other gear, and for that reason I would be able to put some better gear on, right? We got breach rings, and the important part about the breach rings would be having a decent amount of life. Now, this doesn't have the best life on it. It's something I crafted myself, but it does have a couple of things that I needed, like all resistance and the cast speed, which is the most important. The other one is a lot better. This is more like what you would want, like lightning damage and having life, and then having cast speed and all resistance is just absolutely beautiful. I would kind of love if I could have 2 of this specific ring, right? That would be absolutely amazing. And then we had like cold on the other side instead of lightning. That would be perfect. For our second hand, we have Sigil of Power, which is just, again, more damage. We put down the Sigil of Power when we want to fight a boss. And we also have our skeleton cleric, and the reason we have a cleric is, so first and foremost, it's the lowest spirit cost skeleton we can have, so that's the reason I went with that one. And we are using it to basically do the soul offering, right? So the rotation of skills would go something like this. You'll put down your Schedule of Power first, and then we'll inspire our skeleton, and then basically ready to start fighting a boss. And then we also have a curse that we can put down. This is cursed ground, so it'll stay here for a long time. That means that we can basically put that down before we start the boss fight, just in that general area where he will stand. And if you do these things right before he spawns, or he's able to take damage, because they have a spawn period or a grace period basically where you can't hurt them. The second you can hurt them, you kind of want to have it set up already, so everything is set up. So once you can hurt him, and you're already throwing out your sparks, and it just instantaneously starts hurting him. And it's kind of like a little bit weird, because sometimes you'll just do an absolute insane amount of damage, and other times it's kind of low damage a little bit, and then it just pops out of the blue. It just comes with that big damage. And what's gonna happen if we go over our skills here is we're gonna be doing the majority of our damage is coming from Greater Lightning and from cast on critical with Frost Wall. So the Greater Lightning is gonna explode the Frost Wall that we're building up on the enemy, and that's whenever it explodes, then it just does an incredible amount of damage. It works really well. So let's go over it real quick. But yeah, so Malice is our scepter. That's nice. Malice gives us critical weakness on the enemies, and then we have our Greater Lightning Bolt, which has ingenuity. We have Spell Echo. We have Consecrated Ground, or Consecrated Effect, sorry, and we have Considerate Casting. And then we have Sigil of Power, of course. No need for anything in here really. We have Life Remnants. We don't really have anything in here either, because there's no real good support gems you can put in here right at this moment. So I've just left those empty. We also have Eye of Winter, which we can use at times to just hit a big enemy if we have time to throw it. It's not every time you feel like the room or the window is there. So this one is like kind of it's up and down how often I use that. Then we have our Spark. Spark, we have added Arcane Tempo for more cast speed. We have Acceleration, so the sparks fly around faster. We have Chain, and we have Inspiration for less cost, because this does cost both life and mana, since we are a Blood Mage. And we also got on our cast on critical, we have Frost Wall. That is very important, of course. This is one of our main damage dealers. And then we have Fortress, which makes the Frost Wall be a circle instead of a wall. We have Spell Cascade, and we have Magnified Effect, and we have Energy Rendition. We are currently using Blink. This could also get... It's not a must. I kind of just like it. It gives us a little bit more movement when we are moving around, since we are not running super fast. So having the blink is kind of nice. Also while you're doing Arbiter or something like that, and you have to go from one circle to the next circle, it's kind of really nice to have the blink when you have so low movement speed. We have Grim Feast here, and I'll explain how that works. Is if I do a map and I'm not fighting any of the bosses, let's say a breach boss or arbiter or whatever, if I'm not fighting a boss, if I'm just running in the map, I'll then take my cleric off, and once we take the cleric off, we have 30 spirit left, and we can then put on Grim Feast to double our energy shield, just to have a little bit more safety. But again, this is only for running in maps, and when I'm not running a map, I'm back to bossing. I'll put the cleric on, and we'll do the soul offering and the skeleton cleric We have Overwhelming Presence, which lowers the enemy's elemental thresholds and their stun threshold, basically, or reduces their stun threshold. So that works really well with Spark, and it works really well with the cast on crit. We also have increased cannibalism, which gives us 4% life recovered on kill. And since we are kind of a life-based character, this is kind of very useful. We are killing like everything really quickly. So in a map that just functions really well. For our bone or soul offering, we are using persistence, so it stays out longer. So now it's kind of stays out as long as the Sigil of Power does. It not quite, but it's close to. Then we're using Font of Blood, and we are using a Minion and Mastery. And on our Cleric, we just have the Meat Shield to give them a little bit more life. And on our Curse, we are running Hex Bloom and Cursed Ground. And that's basically it for the skill gems. We're never using Mana Drain, so that's just there for no reason. It's just our want skill, but you'll never use it. Maybe in the future there'll be some support gems we'll put in here if the build survives, which I do not believe it will. And last but not least, I would say using a immunity to Ignite Charm is really nice, because Ignite is one of those few things that is hard to kind of tell when you are ignited. And let's look at some stats real quick. So because of the armor, we are tapped out on our elemental resistances. We have absolutely shit chaos res, which you kind of have to live with because of me not having the best gear in the world. That's again, you could definitely get chaos res on your helmet, you could get chaos res on your belt, especially if this was 5 sockets, because the extra all resistance would help a lot here for us to be able to take out some of the resistance we have on our gear other places in other places. And for everything else, we do have a little bit of armor, we do have a little bit of energy shield, but it's not much, and then we have a decent amount of life. You gotta remember this can double, so we can basically get to roughly 4k life, because of the ascendancy as a blood mage allows us to overflow our life pool. We do have a decent amount of strength to have more life, enough dexterity to where we can use all the gear and all the gems, and then a bunch of intelligence to be able to use our skills. However, I am gonna swap some intelligence into strength over the coming days as I get better gear. The idea is to basically be split between strength and the intelligence in the end. That's what I'm aiming for, to have as much life as possible. And last but not least, if we go to the skill tree, so when I leveled the characters to begin with, I did there's basically 2 ways I would go about leveling it. I would either do Spark, as I did with the Sork, or I would do Minions as I did with the Infernalist. And I chose to go the Minion route just because Minions are stupid easy. It lets you play the game without having to pay attention to anything or think about anything. You just let them. It's basically like getting carried by somebody else. That's the best comparison I can give. So we did the first ascendancy, but we only took the 3% life node. We did not take this one. We completed the whole campaign, got to maps, and leveled to, I think it was like 75 I got to, something like that. And then I paid 1 divine for a ascendancy, basically paid a guy to do the ascends. So we got to so I got the 3 last ascension, or it's 6 points, right? The last 6 points, and when I got the last 6 points, I put all of them in here all at once. So, but I would definitely start out by going this direction, right? Like you go down, take this one, and take this one, and then afterwards you come over here, grab this one, and then you grab this one. That would be the way to go. For the rest of the tree, so we went up here with maximum energy shield, we grabbed this one, and then we went through the middle for some crit chance. We grabbed the crit chance up here, and then we went straight this direction here. We went down here, we grabbed the crit chance over here, and then we grabbed these right here for a little bit of damage. We went up here, grabbed this one, and then we grabbed this one as well. Now for the idea here is we are grabbing as much critical chance and critical bonus as we can. We gotta kind of take a little bit of mana here and there, mana regen. That's what we're getting right here, and we are also getting a little bit of mana regen from our clarity, since that's the only real mana regen we are getting. And you do want to have a little bit, since you're splitting your cost on skills between mana and life. It is nice having it. It's not a thing you have to have a lot of though. And then we grabbed this one for 25 extra intelligence, is always nice. We went down and we grabbed this one right here for even more critical chance. We came down here, we grabbed these right here, and then we went all the way in here, up here, and we got this one. And of course we got to the jewel as well, and we got this one over here. Then we continued to grab this one. We filled out down to our jewel socket right here. Then we grabbed the lightning nodes right here, and we continued downwards, grabbed another jewel socket, and then we went for this one, and then we grabbed another jewel socket, and then left behind is this one. And so this is like when I get the next 2 levels, this will be where I invest those, and then I can, if I want to, invest into these 2, and by investing into these 2 I'll be able to drop one of my jewels. And if I drop this jewel right here, which you see, if I can take that out like this, and we put the legendary or the unique jewel in here instead of the diamond, the time lost diamond called Against the Darkness, that had increased extra cold and lightning like our weapon. Having all of these nodes right here is perfect because that they are all within the ring. So by having all of these, we are getting so much extra damage, right? But for now, we're just like letting this stay in here for now, and then I can buy the jewel later down the line if I feel like I have so much leftover currency that it doesn't really matter for me. And last but not least, if we look at all of our jewels, it's basically the same idea throughout all of them. You want to have, preferably you want to have as high as possible, of course. So if you can get 15 20s on the crit chance and crit bonus, definitely get it, but it's hard. But having at least like 10 crit chance, that's the bare minimum, I would say, that you have to have on all of them in order for it to work out. So if we look, I have this is a 12-10, this is a 13-16, so a really nice one. This is a 13-11. Then we have a 14-15, that's a very nice one too. 14-13, a 14-16, and what do we have here? We have a 15-18, so that's probably my best one, I would say. But the rest of the stats on this one is kind of sucky, so you would much rather have one that was like the first one we looked at, like this one for instance, right? It has cold pen and it has energy recharge. That would be way nicer. That also has cold pen and energy recharge. This has oh, that's a kind of nice one too. See, that one has minion damage, that's kind of pointless. Yeah, that's okay. Nah, that's not the greatest either. What do we have here? We have a 1319, that's pretty decent too. 1319 again, not bad. And 1314. And the last one is a 1413. But basically you would want to have something like cold penetration, maximum energy shield, spell damage, trigger spell damage, something like that. That would be the number one stats, right? But you must have the critical chance and critical bonus, right? Like that's basically a must have. Another thing you could do here is if we get enough to where we can say, or where we can basically take out 2 of our jewels, the second jewel we would take out would be this one, and we would get the one that makes a ring and allows us to pick whatever is within the ring without it being allocated or without it being connected. So alright, so here we are. I'm pretty sure this From Nothing diamond is the one I'm thinking of, and if I could get that as well, I would put that in here. We would then grab this one, and this one. That would be the next 2 upgrades for me. Would probably be if I could drop 2 jewels and be able to put the Time Lost in here and put the From Nothing in here. That would probably be my next 2 upgrades, if I'm willing to spend that kind of currency, because that's probably going to be, in my opinion, that's going to be a lot of divines, right? Like 100 divines or something like that, probably even more maybe. I'm not entirely sure how much the other one is. I know the Time Lost is like, I want to say it's like between 70 and 90 somewhere. Not 100% sure what the current price is, but yeah, that is insane. If we could put those 2 in there, that would give us so much damage that we could basically one tap any boss in the game at any difficulty level, right? So that would be the next upgrade. But just as it is right now, it's so phenomenal. It performs incredible, and it's just wild. And I'll leave you guys with some gameplay of some bosses that I'm doing with in a group setting and solo, of course. And then I'll say thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and then I will catch you all in the next one.
We split the thread of reality's core.
Wait, why are you not dying faster?
We that fail
Okay, he is dead.
by 4. Anticipation.
No.
We that fail sacred fire of the Mother Soul, you are called upon.